My name is Matilda Reckford, and I'm the project manager for the EHLS program at the Center for Applied Linguistics. And I'm joined today by Maria Mariani from Georgetown University.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I am the program manager and the director of recruitment for the DC area, and I'm at Georgetown, as Matilda said, and looking forward to being with you for a little bit today.
As we begin our presentation, please feel free to use the Q&A box to enter any questions you have during our presentation, and we might have some time for some live questions as well. Okay. During this webinar, we'll talk about the English for Heritage Language Speakers program and what it offers and its requirements. We'll get into the details about the application process and talk a little bit about the skills testing. We'll also talk about the application process and some tips to keep in mind as applicants apply. So let me do a quick overview of the EHLS program before we dive in deeper. EHLS is a scholarship program with a focus on professional English communication skills and career skills. The program trains advanced speakers of English to be effective communicators and strong candidates for federal jobs. It's hosted by Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. Every scholar admitted to the program receives a full scholarship funded by the federal government. The program is 8 months in length. The first 6 months are full-time on the Georgetown University Capitol campus, and the final 2 months are part-time and conducted online. Participants are native speakers of critical languages who have a strong interest in public service. Our scholars come from varied cultural, educational, and professional backgrounds, but they are all united by an interest and a commitment to public service. Now, a little bit of background. EHLS was established because critical language skills are in high demand in the U.S. government. There are other government-sponsored programs to teach critical languages to native English speakers, but this is the only program designed to prepare individuals with native knowledge of critical languages for the federal government. We are a partnership among 4 organizations. The Defense Language National Security Education Office, or DELENCIO, is our funder. The Center for Applied Linguistics, where I work, is the partner that oversees instruction and coordinates language testing. Georgetown University, where Maria works, provides instruction. And the Institute of International Education oversees the application process. We are in our 20th year this year, and it's definitely a big milestone, and 2026 will be our 20th program year. Scholarships for the EHLS program are awarded through DELENCIO, or the Defense Language National Security Education Office. Each scholarship provides full tuition and fees for the 8-month academic program, in addition to a living stipend that is $3,600 a month during the first 6 months of the program, and then $1,200 a month during the last 2 months of the program. For scholars that are moving outside the Washington, D.C. area, EHLS can reimburse relocation costs up to $1,000. A certificate is also delivered upon successful completion of the program. By the time you are finished with the EHLS program, you will have compiled a beautiful professional portfolio that includes a well-polished resume, writing samples, U.S. government scale English and heritage language scores, and the certificate from Georgetown University that opens many doors. Scholars must also agree to the terms that are outlined here. That is full attendance and successful completion of the academic program, agreement not to work during the full-time portion of the program, that's the first 6 months. EHLS scholars must purchase Georgetown University Premier Plan for health insurance, but scholars can waive this requirement if they are covered by health insurance and that insurance meets Georgetown University standards. And scholars also commit to accepting a service requirement after completing the academic program. Now, who is eligible for the program? You must be a U.S. citizen at the time of application. You must be a native speaker of one of the languages listed, and you must have professional level proficiency in that language. You must have advanced proficiency in English. Your proficiency in English and your native language will be formally tested as part of the application, and we'll talk about that later in the presentation. You must have a college degree that's at least a bachelor's degree. You must be able to use the internet, word processing tools, and PowerPoint. You must be able to commit to a full-time day program from January to June in Washington, D.C. at Georgetown University. And you must be willing to work for the federal government for 1 year in a position with national security responsibilities. And it will be your responsibility to find that position. So now I'll pass it over to Maria to talk about the service requirement.
Okay, so let's just take a look. What is your service requirement? Commitment. So scholars are required to fulfill a 1-year commitment to work for the federal government. But we are really interested in folks that want to make a career of federal work. But I do not need to emphasize more that it is the scholar's responsibility to search for and secure the position within the federal government with a national security responsibility. You will get a lot of support from your instructor in your career skills development class, but ultimately it will be your job search, and we are a university, not a job placement agency. So the job search is the focus after completing the intensive portion of the program. So that is January to June. So what does a good faith effort mean? Well, you would need to document and keep track of all the jobs and positions that you have applied for, and you would be required to keep it in a log in IncepNet, and your career skills instructor will help you figure out how to do that. Okay, and okay, fulfilling the service requirement. So here we have the 3 broad tiers of service, and they're listed in descending order of preference. So it's tier 1, tier 2. So if you can't find anything in tier 1, if you've exhausted those possibilities, then you would go to tier 2. When you exhaust those possibilities, you would go to tier 3. So let's take a look at all the tiers. So tier 1, and this is the priority areas. And it includes all 4 priority areas, as you see here. EHLS scholars are required to begin job searches within these departments. Any civilian or foreign service positions within these departments will count towards your service requirement. They don't necessarily need to be a language-enabled position. Scholars work in diverse fields, including cyber, finance, acquisition, in addition to foreign affairs. And we encourage you to think broadly about where you may want to apply your skills. And please note, as far as State Department is concerned, we are not a stepping stone to a Foreign Service officer position. The State Department is mainly interested in EHLS scholars to fill language instructor positions at FSI, the Foreign Service Institute. And this is where most of our scholars land at State. Okay, so let's go to tier 2. So if you are unable to find a suitable position within tier 1, you can then expand your job search to include positions in tier 2. Positions in the greater federal government with national security responsibilities. Some past scholars have found jobs in other agencies, but the positions need to have national security responsibility. And it was up to the scholar to make the case to NCEP. NCEP has a very broad understanding of national security, including issues of population, migration, public health, diplomacy, and economic competitiveness. So, but it's up to the scholar to make the case that the job that they are looking at outside of the tier 1 has national security responsibility, and you take that up with our funder. So Delencio and NCEP are one and the same. That's our funder. So, for example, we've had a scholar in 1 year who fulfilled the service requirement in the Department of Commerce, and others have done similar things. Okay, so now let's look at Tier 3. So Tier 3 is the last resort, and it only applies if you have exhausted your searches in Tier 1 and Tier 2, and you have documented this. So that's basically, you see what Tier 3 is. So let's go and look at examples of where EHLS scholars have landed jobs. Here are a few examples of where EHLS scholars have worked and currently work. They're really varied positions, ranging from language instructors to doing programmatic management or intelligence work. And the beautiful thing about this is that you get to choose the job. We don't force you into a job. It's your job search, and you get to choose the job. Okay, let's take a look at fulfilling the service requirement. In the career skills class on Fridays, HR representatives from different agencies come and meet our scholars and present the opportunities available to them in their agencies. And many times they will give out their cards, their emails to our scholars. And also they may even accept a resume or track, say you've already applied to that agency. I've seen them track applications. This is unheard of. It's an amazing benefit. As a scholar, you get notifications of exclusive job openings through NCEPnet following completion of the intensive portion of the program. And that means after June 30th, this is when you would be starting to get these, exclusive openings. And many scholars have gotten great jobs through these exclusive job postings that have gone directly to them. Also, EHLS scholars have a special hiring advantage called Schedule A. And under Schedule A, an agency can hire you faster without going through all the normal requirements if there is an urgent need for your expertise. But this does not mean that you forego a clearance process. Many positions still require a security clearance, and you would have to go through that process if the position you're looking at requires a clearance. Okay, let's take a look at the academic program. If you want more information about the service requirement, we recommend that you tune in to what to expect during and after the EHLS webinar. Excuse me. If you want more information, you can go to our webinar that is called What to Expect During and After EHLS. And that's on our website, and you can find that and the date, and you should register to attend that. It'll give you more information. Okay, now let's look at the academic program. So the goals of the academic program: we work on all 4 of your language skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. We also work on your professional skills, such as resume writing and dressing for success. We teach you how to deliver an elevator speech. That's a 1 to 2 minute speech that you can make quickly that basically tells the person what you're looking for. We help you with interviewing skills and appropriately navigating different hierarchical workplace relationships. And that is all done in the career skills class. Okay, let's look at some special features of the program. So we have guest speakers that come to teach, for example, how to write a federal style brief, because writing in our program is very different from academic writing. And so we have professionals come. We used to have people from CIA come and do this workshop. But you'll get someone from one of the agencies that will come and help you and talk about how to write a federal style brief. But our instructors, our writing instructors, are also very well versed in this. We also have someone come and deliver a presentation on how to brief a high-level official in an oral brief. And then the analysis project, or the OSAP project, is our capstone project, which we'll talk a little bit about later. We have weekly guests and recruiters from different agencies that come and speak about the opportunities in their agencies. We already mentioned that. And let's see, I have just lost my place, but okay, special features. Okay, and now let's look at the foundation of the EHLS curriculum. So in the news analysis class, you are assigned articles to read and taught how to do critical analysis of the news. And each scholar might, for example, report a news piece from their area of the world to the entire class on any given day. In the reading and writing class, you learn how to write reports and do research, drawing sound analytical conclusions. In our POC, the professional oral communications class, you're making presentations on a daily basis. And many times the instructors are recording you and making comments for you to review as you watch your taped presentation. By the time the OSAP presentations come around, our scholars are well prepared and have had so much practice, everyone does amazingly well. We make you comfortable sending emails in English, and we teach you the proper format and protocol of what people expect of you. We have a negotiation component. We also teach you how to run an effective meeting. And by the time you are halfway through the program, you have a beautifully perfected resume to submit to future employers. We have mock interviews, and we actually bring agency representatives to come in and do these practice interviews with you and give you feedback. We even teach you how to dress for the interview and to prep for the interview. So it's a pretty amazing, all-encompassing experience. Okay, let's take a look at the courses. So we've already spoken a little bit about the professional oral communication skills, the news analysis, and the career skills development classes. But we have found out through the years, and it's 19 years that we've been doing this, that after the 6-month program, scholars still need help with writing and career skills development. So several years ago, we added these 2 courses as online classes for an additional 2 months, and that would be July and August. So while you're in the 6-month intensive program, you cannot work. You sign an agreement not to work. Actually, it would be impossible to hold a job, even a part-time job, and successfully complete the program because it is so intensive. But during the part-time online 2-month program, you can work and get a job since it's all online. But please note, EHLS scholars will be required to stay in the US during the entire program until August 2026, even during the part-time online. Okay, let's look at the OSAP project. The analysis project, or the OSAP as we call it, is our capstone project. This is your chance as an EHLS scholar to shine and show off your knowledge and skills. You work with a mentor from one of the agencies on a topic provided by them specifically for you, which will relate heavily on your native language and area of the world. Perhaps your mentor is an expert in that area of the world, but does not have the native language capacity and the cultural knowledge that you as a native might have. So you would provide that knowledge in doing research and are an asset to them. You get to do research on the topic in your native language and other languages that you know. For example, one year, a past scholar from the Maghreb area did their research in Arabic, French, and Tamashek. Many scholars get offers as a result of their OSAP research and presentations. And many scholars bring copies of their written report at this symposium. And sometimes they leave them on the table, or they hand them out to interested members of the audience from agencies that the scholars are interested in working at. So that is the OSAP project, and it's always a very exciting time. And let's look at the outcomes and the benefits of participation. So one of the things that everyone says is a benefit of the program is that they feel they have improved their confidence in English. Actually, many say that it is a kind of metamorphosis that they experience. And being with the program for 20 years, almost 20 years, I can attest to that. I mean, we polish and change you while you're with us. And it's an amazing transformation. So while you're in the program, we test your English skills before entering the program, at the beginning of the program, midpoint, and at the end of the program. By the time you are finished with the EHLS program, you will have compiled a beautiful professional portfolio that includes a well-polished resume, writing samples, government scale, English and heritage language score, maybe even a tape of your presentation, and a certificate from Georgetown University, as Matilda said, that opens many doors, and it does. It opens doors. The EHLS program is a non-degree, non-credit program. Non-degree, non-credit. Okay, so I've spoken a lot, and now I'm going to hand it over or back to Matilda.
Thank you. So now we'll go over how to apply to this program. So there are two stages to the application process. All candidates will complete stage 1, while only some candidates will be invited to stage 2. So steps 1 and 3 within stage 1 is step 1, you'll prepare your application. Step 2, you'll submit your application and the supporting documents. And step 3, you will complete an OPI in English, an oral proficiency interview. Step 4, so only those who are invited to stage 2 do that step 4 of the skills test. And you take language and technology skills tests virtually, and then you'll receive notification of your results and status at that stage as well. So here are some important dates with the application process. The application is currently available. You can visit our website, ehlsprogram.org. It's featured right there on the main page, and then there's more explanation in the website on how to prepare. The deadline for the application and the supporting documents is 5 p.m. Eastern Time on June 17th, 2025. Once your application is submitted and considered complete, applicants will be invited to schedule an oral proficiency interview in English. Those OPIs are administered through July 14th, but we highly recommend submitting your application and scheduling your OPI as soon as possible to receive a time that works with your schedule. So June 17th to June 14th is quite a short window, but if you submit before the deadline, you can pick a better time. And then we notify candidates of their status in September. Some candidates will be provisionally selected to move on to stage 2 to skills testing. And then in late September to early October, these candidates will complete this testing and the basic technology test, the language testing, the basic technology test. And you will also complete an additional oral proficiency interview in your critical language. And then we notify candidates of their final status in early November of 2025, and the program will start on January 5th, 2026. So back to stage 1, what you need to do is complete your application and submit all the supporting documents, all of that by 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the 17th. Once you've done that, you can complete your oral proficiency interview by July 14th. So what are the supporting documents? First, be sure to complete all sections of the application. We'll review it for completeness before we invite you to the oral proficiency interview. Your supporting documents are your resume and transcript. You'll be uploading those to the application system. Foreign degrees must be evaluated, so you will need to contact an accredited evaluation service, and we list a few on our website that you can contact for this evaluation. You'll then need to upload it to the application system. Evaluations can be a lengthy process and it can take up to 2 months, so we recommend to start early and to avoid missing the deadline by making sure you have your evaluation ready to upload. You must also select at least one, but we recommend 2 professional references. These are people who will write a recommendation letter for you. So you will enter their contact information in the online application system, and then they will fill their recommendation out, and that's also required for the application to be complete. That must be done before the deadline. If possible, one recommendation should be from your current supervisor. You might also consider former supervisors or professors. Please keep it professional. We suggest that you not choose family members or professional friends. And then you will receive an automated email confirming that you've submitted your application, and we will review it for completeness. And once it's been reviewed and at least that one recommendation is in, you'll receive another email from us with step-by-step instructions on scheduling your oral proficiency interview in English. So once we contact you to schedule your oral proficiency interview in English, the instructions include that you So you will take this OPI with Language Testing International. This OPI is a live 30 to 45-minute phone conversation between a certified tester and the test taker. Those OPIs will be scheduled through July 14th. However, your application still has to be submitted by 5 p.m. on June 17th. So we suggest that you submit your application as soon as possible and then secure a date that works for your schedule, as I said. You must complete your OPI by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, July 14th. You cannot reschedule an OPI within 24 hours of the scheduled test time. If you miss your OPI, it will not be rescheduled. And you must meet the minimum requirement standard of an ILR2, English Language Roundtable Scale, ILR2. If not, you will be disqualified and notified of the decision. So up to 50 provisionally selected candidates will be invited to stage 2, the skills testing, and those tests will also be administered virtually. You'll have an OPI in your critical language, and it'll be the same process as the one in English, so it will be via phone, but you'll have a proctor on Zoom to check for security. You will also be tested on your basic technology skills, and on this slide we link to the part of our website that details all these tests, and along with this technology skills test, we list a self-assessment that you can check for that. And then EHLS staff will extend offers of admission in November 2025. We anticipate out of those 50 that we would select 18 scholars. So it is a competitive program. We have about 200 applications every year, 50 that move on to stage 2, the skills testing, and then 18 scholars that make it into the program. And I glanced at a question earlier from the Q&A, and there are 9 languages that we're recruiting and 18 scholars. There's no quota per language. So out of the 18, there could be 11 Russian speakers or 2 Russian speakers. It doesn't, it's really based on your profile. As long as you speak the language, you are qualified and have an equal chance in the program. So here are some more tips, specifically on stage 1. So use information from your resume to complete the employment section of the application. The information you fill in the application should be consistent with your resume. Make it easy for the application reviewers to understand your education and work history and explain any gaps. Then gather your transcript documents as soon as possible. If your transcript is from a foreign institution, it has to be evaluated and translated, so that can take a while. That transcript should show that it's equivalent to a US bachelor's degree. We have a link to a list of credential evaluation services on our website, and it's also listed in the application at that stage. Ask for references early. You will list the references and their contact information and the application will send an email to them directly. They will fill out a reference form and submit a letter directly in the system. So it will be through the application and not through you. We recommend submitting an application sooner rather than later so that you can get the OPI scheduled as soon as possible. More tips. Write specific and detailed essays. It's important that you clearly demonstrate your interest in working for the federal government. We have, here's the path on our website on how to find information on the selection criteria. So you can check that out on our website and try to write your essays based on these selection criteria. And we also have a newly posted essay guidance document that you can check out that can help you think through what your response can be on each question. And you can find it here on the website. We have a selection criteria PDF that is definitely important to review to make sure you write good essays. Be sure to have the technology skills needed to complete the writing test by referring to the information and links on the website. We have a link to the document here on this next page. So you'll find it in the skills test portion of our website. This is where you can take the self-assessment on technology skills. We also link to the ILR website. So that's the criteria for the all the language tests. So the English tests and the critical language tests are rated on the ILR. And if you check that website, they have some information and even self-assessments for speaking, reading, and listening. So you can check those out as well. Finally, you can find us on social media. Maria mentioned that we have a good presentation with information that will be complementary to what we presented today, more specifically on what to expect during and after EHLS. And those will be posted soon and announced on this newsletter that you can sign up to on our website. So here's a quick overview of those future dates where you can find out about our other webinars with complementary information. So the Applying to EHLS webinar focuses more on tips for applying to the program and for what to expect during and after EHLS. We focus on Georgetown, that experience, the campus experience, the instruction, and after EHLS. So we have representatives from our funder, Delencio, and the team that helps our scholars find jobs after the program. And then we also have Q&A sessions. At our webinars, of course, we try to have time to answer some of your questions, but you may have more as you fill out your application. So you can come to those Q&A sessions, see what other people, what their questions might be. And you also can hear from our special guests. We have alumni from the program that come to our Q&A session and talk about their experience, talk about tips on how to apply for the program. So those are all our virtual events. You can also find out through our website and our newsletter for our in-person events. So we also have in-person information session, and Maria will have one next week in Washington, D.C. for those who are in the area. I don't know, Maria, if you want to just talk about when and where.
Yes, so that will be next Tuesday, and we will be at the Martin Luther King Library on 9th and G. Um, and they have assigned a room to us. When you walk in, they can show you where to go. And please, bring a friend and come and listen to the presentation. A lot of it will be what you've already heard, but you can ask more questions and you can meet me. So I look forward to meeting some of you in person.
Great. And if you have more question and you want to write us an email or give us a call, Maria is a great resource to answer questions on the EHLS curriculum, schedule, and the Georgetown facilities. Matilda, am a good resource for any questions on the oral proficiency interview, OPI scheduling, all the language testing question. And our colleague Meredith at IIE can be a great resource for any questions on the online application system. Meredith will be joining us in our Q&A sessions and on our next webinar, the Applying to EHLS, with a lot more guidance on how to use that portal and make sure everything is perfect in that application system. Of course, if you reach out to any of us, we would be happy to answer any questions. And thank you. That's it for our presentation. I will stop sharing and take a look at our Q&A. I think, Maria, you had posted some answers for others to see. So yes, the program does not have any age restrictions. And that it's correct that if you're not a US citizen, you must wait and you must be a citizen at the time of application. That's going to be June 17th. I think we had a question on the kind of certificate. I think that was answered by Maria. So it's a non-degree, non-credit
Credits, yeah.
certificate from Georgetown University. If you don't have your transcript, that might be a question for IIE. They're very
Meredith,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, for Meredith. You can find her information on the website or reach out to us, and then we can make sure she helps you out with that. Especially, this early on before the deadline, we can try as much as possible as offer you some support for any transcript questions, and if you don't feel like you have it or things like that. We have someone who graduated from Russian language schools in Kyrgyzstan. Yes, you can apply to the EHLS program.
As a Russian speaker.
As a Russian speaker, absolutely. Your language skills in Russian will be tested as you apply. So that could help, settle your if you have any questions on your Russian level, and any cultural knowledge from Russian-speaking countries like Kyrgyzstan are very valuable from our applicants. So you're definitely open to apply and share that cultural knowledge. So there's a question about, can we still apply for the foreign service positions? I think that was something you said, Maria, about how it's not a specific stepping stone. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're talking about a foreign service officer position at the State Department, that is not through us. And that is a whole different process with different kinds of tests. And for our purposes, the people that go to FSI are usually language instructors, and they are not applying directly to a foreign service officer position.
Great. We have a Q&A question from someone who applied last year. So if you do, or if you are a repeat applicant, that's wonderful. And you have to fill out the whole application again. They change slightly every year, so you have to fill out everything again. You have to request your references again, and they have to come in and put in their reference in the system again. You may be able to use the tests from last year if they're still valid, if your English test is still valid. You may be able to use those again, and we can be in contact with you about the usage of your tests after you've submitted or while you're applying. We can definitely answer those questions for you.
And also, I guess it's VAFA. If you were accepted, normally we tell people like, well, if you didn't get accepted, then maybe you should answer all the questions, as if it was the first time. But if there are questions that you've already answered before, and since you were accepted, I would advise you to just use your answers from the last time. Of course, if we have changed the questions, then you'd have to write a whole new answer.
Yeah, if you are curious about whether you should kind of, tweak your answers, definitely a good place to look is the selection criteria. So that's the PDF that's linked on our website. That's what the reviewers are going to be looking out for when they read your essays. And we also have a essay guidance document. They're both kind of side by side PDF links that you can find on our website. And there's a great to review whether you've written your essays before and you just want to tweak them, or whether you're writing those essays for the first time. We also have a question about concerns about getting a clearance, and you do not require clearance to be an EHLS scholar. That is a process that happens after the program, and it can be very specific when it comes to different agencies. And not all applicants have applied for jobs that required clearance. So if it's a concern for you and you're worried that that's the only jobs for you out there after the program, there's a lot of different jobs that our alumni have secured that didn't need a security clearance. But since the process is very different depending on the agency, we can't speak to whether you wouldn't be disqualified from it because you've been disqualified in the past from a security clearance. So
Now, do we still have that question? Because we used to have the question on the application. Have you failed a security clearance?
oh, right. Yeah, we might have. You're right. We
So,
have it.
and you'd have to be honest about that.
Right.
And we as our program does not give clearances because the clearances come from the agencies where you are provisionally offered a job. And so we can't say, yes, you're going to get a clearance. We have no idea. It depends on your job and if you're applying for a job with clearance
Absolutely.
requirement.
And then we have a question that's similar to the Russian speaker from Kyrgyzstan, a Persian speaker from Afghanistan. Absolutely, you can apply to the program if you speak Persian.
Farsi. And yeah, and you would be tested in Farsi. Just know that you would not
Yeah.
be tested in Dari. You would be tested in Persian Farsi.
If you already have federal work experience, you're definitely eligible to apply. And yeah, I would absolutely highlight that in your resume. I think that could be a strength for you as an applicant. It can be, so there's a question on whether the diploma evaluation can be done by any US agency. Yes, I mean our list I think is pretty extensive because we link to a website that kind of links a lot of them. But if you have more questions on what type, I know different evaluation sites have different tiers where if you pay more, you have this type of evaluation versus that one. So definitely if you're not sure about how to do that based on the offering of a specific website, I think the best step is to reach out to us directly so we can give you kind of like that answer for the service that you're trying to use and which evaluation we require. Meredith from IIE would definitely
She would know
answer.
more. Yeah. And in past years, people have said the turnaround for WES is very good and fast. Some of them are a little more expensive than others, so but WES is one of the ones on the list that a lot of people use. I cannot attest to, how great it is, but I just know that people have used it and they say the turnaround is fast.
Mhm. If you have done an OPI in the past, we can definitely check for you if it's valid or not. That's a common question when we get to that OPI step of whether you have to take it again or not. If it's still valid, you're not required to take it again. Sometimes people want to take it again to get a better score. Sometimes people do that and get a lower score. So
Risky.
it's risky. We only take the most recent score, so you might want to think about that. If you've passed, if you have an ILR2 and it's still valid, you're not required to take your OPI again.
If it's 3 years old, though, I don't know, Matilda, right? If it's 3 years old, they might.
Yeah, if it's valid until maybe July, August 2026, if it's like around this application period, that still works. Um, yeah, that's sort of our
Yeah.
flexibility there. Yeah. If you live in Virginia, do you have to move to DC? The DC area is where you can live during the program. Obviously, you can think about commute, but it's a very well connected area to both Virginia and Maryland. So we have many scholars who commute from Virginia or Maryland to the DC campus. The DC campus is right on the metro, so it's very convenient also for those who live a little bit further away.
And we don't tell you where to live. Just know that you have to be on campus Monday through Friday from 9 o'clock to about 5 o'clock every day. So keep that in mind when you're thinking of where you're living.
Um, I think there's a question on whether April 15th is an in-person event. If this was listed in our webinar list, then it is a
No,
virtual
no.
event.
Yeah. The only
Yeah.
one that we have on our is for next Tuesday
Mhm.
at Martin Luther King at 1 o'clock.
And then I had just a couple questions about links, so I'll just pull out some useful links here for you. We had a
One
question.
person is asking about the if they have a deferred resignation program, and I leave the federal. In order to apply for the EHLS program, you have to prove that you have completely separated from your federal job. Because if you have not, it's considered double dipping. So we need an affidavit, a letter stating specifically that you no longer work for the federal government in order to apply.
So I just linked to the portion of the website that is called Prepare Your Application and lists the important steps of making sure you've completed your resume and you're ready to upload that, making sure you have your transcript and your evaluated transcript if you need that, and thinking about the recommendation letter. That page lists ICE, AICE, and that is a website that lists a few different evaluation services, including, like Maria said, WES. And then we have a question on how long does it take to move to stage 2 after submitting the application? So assuming you submit last minute, which we recommend to submit early, but assuming you submit on June 18th, then you will hear from us very, very quickly, where we'll just review it, make sure it's complete, and then you'll be invited to your English oral proficiency interview. So that step can be very quick, and it will definitely happen by July 14th. Then you hear from us in September. So by your tests take a while for every all the tests after July to for us to have all the results, and then we have those results, we have the evaluation, and then those get reviewed by a panel, and it's very carefully reviewed by experts from the government, and that takes them until September, where they have selected the 50 provisionally selected candidates, and that's when we contact you. And then you hear that you are one of the 50 provisionally selected candidate, and then we give you this timeline of all the other testing that happens in September and October, that then takes you to November and your final status. Then we have a question about how do I send my WES evaluation? You would send that, you would upload it to your website. And again, if you have any questions on this, definitely reach out to IIE. They can only check if everything is completely right once you click submit, but if you want to make sure everything is good and complete and has all the requirements, then reach out to us. That way we can answer questions before you're ready to actually click submit. We have a question on professional references. It can be tricky sometimes to find professional references. So our recommendation could be to reach out to a former supervisor if you don't have anyone current, or if you feel like it's been too long, or a former academic supervisor could be a reference. For more current types of references, you could also think about any volunteer opportunities. That could be also a place to ask people for references. Maria, I don't know if you have more guidance on that for references.
Well, I mean, it could, if you are a recent college graduate, you could ask a professor.
Yeah. We have a question on someone who is a speaker of two listed languages. That could be a tricky one to decide.
The one that you feel the most proficient in it professionally. You know, which one do you feel that you have a better command professionally?
Yeah, it's actually a benefit once you're in the program. You can test in that other official critical language, and add that to your resume, have your government scale testing as part of your portfolio. So, like Maria said, you can decide on what language of the two you apply with, and it's not a decision to take lightly, because that's the language you will complete your open source analysis project with. That's the one you will use for research, and for the report that you produce with your mentor and that you eventually present at the symposium. So it's a language you should be comfortable with in terms of reading and writing. Absolutely.
And research and you should not take this lightly, because we will be expecting you to do the research in that language. So if you are coming in with that language, that's the research that is a language that we are expecting you to do research in. You cannot change to the other one. I mean, of course, you could also do research in that second language, but your primary research is going to be the language that you applied with, and that's what the project will be based on, that language.
We have a question on someone who hasn't worked for a number of years, taking care of their children. Maria, I know you often use the example of a very successful scholar we've had in the past that had a similar profile and went on to do great things. So it's definitely
Yes.
does not disqualify you.
She
And
said, I'm just a housewife. I'm like, but you have a degree in microbiology and you have a PhD in microbiology. And I asked, but I've just been a housewife and a mother for many years. Well, you would put that, on your application, there's going to be a big, section where you have not worked. You're going to have to explain it. It won't disqualify you.
great. We have another evaluation question that's important. You don't have to evaluate your foreign degree if it's not your latest degree. If your latest degree is something you completed in the US, if it's above bachelor's or equivalent, then definitely use that. And then you don't need to include that transcript or anything like that. You can just include your most recent US transcript if it's the most recent one.
And also, someone asked about they had an evaluation done several years ago. Well, the evaluation is not going to change, so you're okay with that if you have it.
If we didn't get to your question, please feel free to reach out to us individually with our contact information that's on our website, or attend more Q&As because,
Hmm.
like you saw, there's a lot of things that can be more kind of individual basis, and then we can definitely kind of talk it out with you, or something that another person mentions at a Q&A, and then that's always helpful to know.
And the thing is,
So
the Q&As are less formal. We don't make that long presentation again, so we'll have more time for questions.
absolutely, yeah, we'll have time perhaps to unmute you. You can ask your question live. You can ask it directly to our special guest alumni. Um, But I think I will end with these words. The more you know about the EHLS program, the better your application will be. So get informed, get on the website, watch our recorded webinars, our recorded alumni to testimonials, all the different information. We have an FAQ, we have the selection criteria, the essay guidance. Just get more familiar and reach out to us, and we'll be there to make sure you have a successful application. So please reach out if you have more questions.
Thank you for your interest in the program, and we really look forward to your applications. And like Matilda said, just, reach out to us. And that last slide that she showed with all the information on my contact information, Meredith at IID, and Matilda's information, you should, if you want your answers to come back quickly, try to reach the correct person. So an application question, Meredith, you know, testing would be Matilda, and anything having to do with the program at Georgetown would be me.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Maria, and thank you all for attending. And we look forward to um, helping you out through this application process. And I hope you have a good rest of your Friday.
Yeah, and please apply.
And please apply.